All right.
We are live.
Okay.
So this particular stream was going to be focused around just portfolio construction, how you think about hedging, downside risk, and just volatility in markets, particularly relevant. Of course, none of this is financial advice. We're just sharing how we use specific products. And I was going to pick Doug's brain because he uses one specific product that he likes for these types of things. Doug, do you want to talk about how it is that you came maybe across this product and when you use it, when you think about taking gains or when you decide to hold?
Well, this is one of those things where we're all learning together, right? And so I've had a concept of trading the VIX, which is the volatility index. It's not a stock. It doesn't have earnings, but it goes up and down based on market activity and how broad the trades are in the options market. So when volatility goes up, that usually coincides with large sell-offs, almost exclusively. And when everything is calm and everybody's happy, they're all buying, and volatility is low. You'll also see it work. It's not the same thing, but you'll also see it move in concert with fear and greed indicators. So I encourage you to take a look at VIX and do research if you've never heard of it before. So it can be an indicator to tell you what is going on in the markets.
So this is UVIX right here, right? I've got the right one?
Yep. So for a long time, I've wanted to trade VIX options. You can't buy VIX and put VIX in your portfolio because it's not a stock. You can buy options on it or sell options on it, but you cannot buy it like a stock. Now, UVIX is a futures product that you can buy and put in a portfolio because it's futures contracts. So if one of the main components of an options contract is the volatility, right? If you pull up a options price on Robinhood or something like that, it'll show you in the Greeks, it'll show you the IV, right? And that is the implied volatility. As implied volatility goes up or goes down, that's going to move in concert with the VIX. Or the VIX is really showing you essentially the broad market on what is happening to those the aggregate of all of the options.
Now, and this thesis came about when we sort of had the Liberation Day headlines and everything sort of went out the window real quick. And just a simple tweet.
I've been wanting to do this for years.
Okay. But this is why it makes it particularly relevant. Is that right? Just because of, one tweet and the whole market can shift?
Yeah. So I can get to that in a minute. But I'm still trying to lay the basis on what it is that I'm trading. So I liked options in the VIX because you can sell that high IV, the high implied volatility, and you can get paid for it. And so if things calm down later, the volatility comes down, and no matter what happens to the price of the underlying, you already sold the value of that high IV. That's why you can buy shares on crazy days like we've been having. You buy shares, that's one thing. But if you're buying options, you're overpaying for them because the algorithm has it built in that says, oh, this had a big move today. it might have a big move in the other direction tomorrow. So we're not going to give you that full, we're going to hedge against that by charging for the implied volatility, right? If you're the option seller and the option went down big today, somebody wants to buy what they're thinking are dirt cheap prices, you're going to say, well, I'm hedging against this just coming back up to the mean because that's very likely to happen, right? So they're going to have to not only beat the price action, they're also going to have to beat the fact that that the market was very volatile. Which means when you buy options, like call options, you want it to be when things are relatively calm and even and chill.
Because the idea is that you're buying it when the volatility is low, and then you're selling into the strength when it's high. That's the idea.
Yeah. Well, the volatility is a component. If you're buying when it's low, you're not overpaying for the volatility, is what I'm saying. Because if you have to go back and buy the volatility later, or
Way more
if
expensive.
volatility decreases when you go to sell, even if the price has gone up, you can still lose because the volatility value has fallen out of the contract.
Right. Similar to like a shorter dated option getting IV crush after an earnings report.
Literally IV crush.
Yeah.
That's literally what it's called. So I've always wanted to trade that because I understand that in the current market and political environment, one tweet can spike the volatility. And if you had calls on the VIX alone, you have a payoff date.
Now, when you're thinking about this, why would you do this instead of just buying puts?
Let me get to the last thing.
Okay.
But managing a bunch of options that constantly are expiring can be a pain in the neck. So the UVIX is a futures contract which does not expire. And now I can buy something and hold it, and it is going to decrease in value slowly, but I'm not worrying about it going to zero.
Right, so like a put option would.
Right. So the UVIX became my tool of choice to play market volatility. Sorry. So I went on a long explanation there. I hope that
no, it's good.
Austin had things he was trying to get in edgewise, and I was still trying to come up with a summation. So does that make sense? Are you tracking there?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just comparing that to other options, really you have, I guess, a few different options. You can, if you're trying to hedge, you can hold more cash, you can sell additional shares, you can play UVIX, or you can buy puts. And as you just described,
you can buy calls on the VIX.
Okay.
Which is what I was saying I was interested in doing, but I think that just buying UVIX is simpler. You do not have the same leverage that you had on buying calls, right? But UVIX is not going to go to zero because it's not going to run out of time.
Now, and for the listeners, conceptually, this is not an investment that you're making long-term in the portfolio. This is an insurance policy, right, Doug?
Yep.
Now, when we get chop and the VIX goes high, and we had some fear and greed this morning, fear and greed all the way down to, I think, 11. I think you said that you had sold some. So how are you thinking about how long to hold it?
I just hold it till I feel like I get an exit. I'm going to share my VIX chart here. This is a little messy. I apologize. So I know I said I'm trading UVIX, but I'm watching VIX, right? The UVIX is just leverage against.
Right.
I have so many tabs open. I have to. VIX. There we go. You can share that. Hello, Harrison, Midwest Cannabis.
Love to see Midwest here. He's an OG.
Yep. Can you put the?
Oh yes.
Okay. All right. So this is the VIX in 2025. All right. So if I'm buying calls on VIX or I'm buying UVIX, I'm looking for these spikes, right? And these are just exits. That's all they are, just exits. So when the VIX is on its way down or it feels relatively calm, when everybody's buying stocks and they're happy, I'm like, oh, I want to buy 100 shares of Palantir. Let me buy 100 shares of VIX as well. Now, VIX is trading at, 10, 20, or sorry, UVIX is more like 9, 10, something like that. So it's not a lot to add on. But over time, every time I'm buying bullishly, I'm also buying a little bit of VIX. Because if you look at this chart, you can just look at all of these wicks up, all of these spikes. These are all exits. These are all easy collections, right? Like how many times do you need a 25% win per year on a trade that you held for a month?
And the beauty of it is you are selling this at what you feel is the ideal time to actually buy more stock. So when everyone else is seeing red and is getting hit, you've now got cash. When everyone else has ran out of dry powder, you can now sell one of these for cash and then redeploy that at what is hopefully a good price for whatever you're trying to buy.
Yep. It's not that complicated. It's buy low, sell high. The trick that I think I have found is that Donald Trump is president. He's going to tweet. No one can stop him. There are going to be spikes in the VIX that give you an exit. And then it's right back down again after a few days, and you can start accumulating again. And when we have runs like this, where we have, kind of a week going up, another week going up right here, I'm just selling half, on these big days, I'm just selling half. Sell half. And then you sell the next half, and you sell the next half, and you sell the next half. So sure, you're getting maybe 15% on your first half. In the second fourth, now you're getting 25%. The third, fourth, I'm getting 30%. But in aggregate, it's making easy money. And then, like Austin says, then I also have cash to buy the stocks I want at low prices.
Now, do you think that the market is just going to get used to these volatility events? I know we're sitting here looking at, he's been around since 16. We're almost 10 years into the Donald Trump show, if you will. And it seems like August, people still don't understand how he communicates and how he operates. So does it seem like this is just sort of inevitable through the end of his term?
I mean, it wasn't just Donnie T. I mean, this is Biden.
Sure.
Are those enough exits for you?
Yeah, lots of Fed meetings in there, I'm sure, in 2022.
Yep. I mean, so this is 21, 22, 23. I mean, that's, 6, 7 opportunities to exit your position per month. And then
you just had to do it too. You motherfucker.
Yep. And then boom, 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 boom. And then you have you have volatility because of an election, right? We have, a day like this. I hadn't started the position yet, but this is I have a 2x leverage on my system, and look how flat in general this was.
What was that, yen carry trade? Is that what that was?
No, this is Liberation Day. I think yen carry trade was when?
That was August. I think August 24. I think that's the yen carry trade because Liberation Day was April.
Well, this is November 24th. So this is
That's
No,
23.
that's 23.
Yeah, I think that is the yen carry trade.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, this is Liberation Day. Yeah, this is yen carry trade.
Gosh, what an easy coupon clipping day that was.
Yep. And so as long as you haven't sold all your VIX out or your UVIX, here, you've got more to sell, and you've been accumulating again through here. Just a little bit every day, just DCA into it, and so you have some to sell on VIX. And so, I've wanted to operate this strategy for a while, but now I think I'm seeing something. When we get to earnings, we've had the Mag 7, or 4 of the Mag 7 have earnings in 2 days. So the fact that we're nearing the fact that we're getting close to their earnings, that's already the implied volatility in their options is pushing that VIX up, is pushing that entire volatility onto the market for their implied move. So the whole market has to eat it. So that was just a good chance to sell right there. And then we have Nvidia spiking again. Now we're looking at it again. So then this is the next turning. This is exacerbated now by elections, running into elections. Here's election day, and then here's the current thing we're in, which is running up to Nvidia. Guess when this was?
That would have been big tech, right?
This was the week before big tech. And then as soon as the big tech had their earnings, it let all that uncertainty out of the market.
Now everyone's gearing up for Nvidia earnings.
And then we have a run up here for an election day uncertainty, and now we have uncertainty for Nvidia. When Nvidia comes off, you're going to see the VIX come down.
Look who we've got in the chat here, the milkman himself. I think he's probably working on a Seeking Alpha article right now on Kinder Morgan. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Steve does great work. If you guys aren't familiar with Steve, go ahead and give him a follow. He's got a YouTube channel and Seeking Alpha. And Doug, when you're looking at these hedges here, is this just under like 1% of your portfolio, or are you putting like a decent chunk of insurance on your plays here?
So I've been testing this, and when I've been testing it with less than 1% of the portfolio. And I've been telling friends how well it's been going, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So I'm going to be re-entering once this particular spike comes down. I'm going to be probably 10xing my purchase size on this, because I would like my hedge to be as much as 10% of my port. Because if I can compound 10% of my portfolio, 15%, 5-6 times a year, that seems like a way to sleep at night.
Well, speaking of that, now I don't feel the need to use a product like this because my companies aren't quite as high beta as I think your portfolio is. Would you say that you're pretty risk on?
I'm definitely risk on. I mean, most of my portfolio remains in Palantir and Robinhood, which are going to be relatively high beta.
Right.
But they both held up better than a lot of other plays.
Right. Yeah, because they're quality companies. I mean, they are still high beta, but quality companies.
And, they were beating the snot out of Google until very recently.
Hey, but no, Google's having its day in the sun now.
Google, it's having its day. And I've got my hundreds of shares enjoying it. But this is just a way to take a portion and compound it on the days that everyone is feeling pain, and I'm feeling pain too, because the most of my portfolio is coming down, but I do have a little saving grace and something to look forward to, so I can exit some of this stuff. I can sell it off for a win.
That's great. I'm really excited to see how this develops. Might be a tool in the tool belt I borrow at some point. We've got a comment here from Harrison. TLT. I know you use TLT as well, don't you?
I own 2% of my port is in TLT.
Okay. Now, is that just because rates are coming down?
Just because it's stable and rates are coming down, which means yield will go up. Not that yield will go up, but it'll be harder to get the yield I'm getting right now.
See, like when I look at TLT, I compare it, the opportunity cost against some of the other names that I like better, like Amazon or Google. And I feel that those have, although they are equities, they feel almost indestructible in a way. So while there might be some short-term pain, like I sleep very good at night having
They
those
feel
instead.
indestructible, but look what happened to Meta a few years ago.
Yeah, but look, it came back. It was only a short period of time that the street didn't believe,
Yeah, but what if you
the
needed
amount
your
of money
money?
that they're spending. What was the question?
What if you needed some of your money in the meantime?
And how I approach that is if you need the money in the next 2 to 3 years, I don't put it in the market at all. I'll throw it in money market funds or high yield savings.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, TLT.
TLT works too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a true hedge. It's just, it's almost a cash position. It's just a different form of it, right?
Right. Right.
But yeah, but I say that to say that even the best performers can be cut in half, can be cut in more than half.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, there's that famous Charlie Munger quote where he says, if you can't handle your equity getting chopped in half, you really don't deserve or should be in the equity markets. You shouldn't be investing in equities if you can't handle a haircut of that size, because it's going to happen, especially if you're in a compounder in a growth name that's growing fast. That's always going to happen. I think NVIDIA has had 50% drawdowns like 6 or 7 times now at this point.
Yeah. It's had a couple this year. Harrison said calls on TLT 2100. I mean, I know people that are trading options on bonds. I don't know. That doesn't interest me. Like, someone asked me, do you have TLT? Yes, I do. That's about all I like. Do you have cash? Yes, I have some. Like,
I'm starting to run out of cash.
did you
here.
eat breakfast? Yes, I ate some. Do you have milk? No, I don't have any milk. Sorry, Steve.
I saw Matt had posted, a screenshot on his X of just having like $30 of cash or something, and he said that he likes stocks. And I find myself in that same boat of getting excited about dips and then slowly running out of cash. And I've got a house on the market, so hopefully it sells, and then I can use that equity and put it to work. But right now I have to have a certain amount of cash just on the sidelines waiting for it to sell, because it's a cash burn until it sells.
Mm-hmm. One of our friends today mentioned that she was exiting all of her kind of speculative stuff that were not her favorites and just piling into her favorite plays because they're on such good discount right now. I don't hate that strategy either.
I mean, I think a lot of people are cutting losers right now if they don't have a strong conviction in what they're holding.
Yeah, this might be your chance to finally do some tax loss harvesting right now, which I think is going on. People are finally like, oh, I bought BMNR at 50. It's at 30. I'm finally getting the tax loss harvest against my 1,000% Robinhood gains this year.
Yeah, I mean, it is that time of year where people are starting to look at tax consequences, because you have to plan that a little bit in advance, because if you're planning to buy back by the end of the year, you need that 30 days so that you don't end up washing your sale.
Yep. So do you have any questions about this UVIX?
No.
play?
No,
I mean, it made sense. Does
it does.
everybody understand why that's what I chose as the? Well, I'm also doing this. I should say I'm also doing this in a tax protected, tax sheltered account. So the wash sales are not an issue. Taxation is not an issue. Right? You can round trip this. If you are having to trade in a taxable account, the options become a more attractive option, as it were. Pardon the pun. Because a different dated or different strike on the option is a different contract than getting wash sailed on the underlyings in and out.
For those curious what a wash sale is, this is just Investopedia. I'm not your CPA. Hire an accountant. Wash sale occurs when an investor purchases a security 30 days before or 30 days after selling. So if you sell your stock at a loss, say you've got some BMNR that's at a loss and you sell it, and then 6 days later you end up buying it back, you can't claim that loss. So that's why we get into the middle of November and people are already thinking about this strategy, or towards the end of the year, and then they'll buy back in January. If you've been around in the markets long enough, you'll see this sort of cycle play out just about every year. Did you want to talk about BMNR? I made a spicy post.
You did. I'm on the other side of the trade from you there, but I don't feel the need to go head to head on it. I appreciated some of your points. If you want to bring it up, I mean, we can go through those and we can talk about
Sure.
your points. But I'm not one way or the other. Like I feel like I know what I own, and so I'm not swayed there. You make good points, but I still want what I'm getting.
Sure. Yeah, and if you like the underlying, it's
I have, compared to the BMNR I have far more of the underlying, right? So it's like I have a whole bunch of Ethereum, and then I have a little bit of BMNR on top to give me just that extra little bit of alpha, or the extra little bit of leverage against it.
But here's the thing, they don't use leverage. They're not issuing convertible debt to buy more Ethereum like MicroStrategy has.
It doesn't mean they won't.
Thomas said that he's not going to, which is kind of the confusing part. Is because I thought that was the whole purpose of the digital asset treasury company, is that you're going to use the premium MNAV to issue convertible debt that's not due for a few years. You'll take that cash, buy Ethereum, and then when it goes higher, you'll have even more MNAV.
Yeah, but he's still purchasing with what he's got. He's not out of cash yet. He's not done buying. So why? And then you're asking why he's not staking yet. He said he's going to start next year. I don't know when that is going to be.
Yeah, so I guess that's the confusing part, and guys. I'm not hating on BMNR. I'm just a little bit confused as to sort of what they're doing at this point, and I have more questions than answers. Yeah. I guess that's the way that I would put it. The first one there,
feel the same way that you said here. It feels a little bit like owning an ARK fund, because you do have good points, right? Because you listen to Kathy and you hear them talk about what their strategy is, and you hear them talk about creative destruction and blah blah blah, and you're like, oh yeah, this lady's selling, I'm buying it, right? And then you go and you see what she actually trades in and out every day, and you're like, how is this related to what you talk about, right? So there's a little bit of how are you executing on what you're doing here?
Well, and that first question,
I don't have a large enough position to hurt me if it goes to zero, and I have plenty of Ethereum under it. I'm just trying to get a little bit of extra and see how it works.
Yeah, I guess some of the execution there has confused me, like the no staking. Why have they not done that? My understanding is that SBET is already staking, and then they diluted And then within like 2 weeks of having that money, they bought back shares, or they authorized the share repurchase, which was a little bit confusing. And then,
So that isn't confusing to me.
okay, explain.
I saw this with Palantir, and that's when they finally took off. They didn't authorize enough share buybacks to meaningfully move their share price by purchasing. Okay, they're not buying up, or it's not like they're gonna be AutoZone here, right? But
Right.
what they did is they authorized enough to defend their stock price against a hedge fund. You know, it's hedge funds. Oh, we're going to come out here and short $100 million worth of your stock. Okay, we'll buy.
So it's just there for the threat of protecting it. Hey, if you guys come after us, we'll just buy our shares back and get the monkey off our back.
Yeah. So we're saying, oh, you're going to short us, and you're going to expect the price to go down. You're going to borrow the shares and sell them. You're going to expect the price to go down, and we're going to be the buyer there, and the price is going to stay stable. And now you're paying interest on it. So have fun, right? And we got a share count reduction and all the benefits that go in with that too. So I see that as Tom's ability to backstop his own fund here because it's so new, and it just IPO'd. Like, have you seen what happens to almost every single stock after IPOs? They shoot up, and then they go down for 2 years while they create an actual base. Okay, Robinhood, for a really good example of that. Figma, yeah, even Palantir, right?
SoFi.
I mean, you can just keep look at IPOs, spike down, and then they sit down there and consolidate for 2-3 years. And if they're successful, then their business plan starts to work and play out and takes off. And so Tom here has a brand new business. This is not like something that's been operating a long time. This is a new business, and he's got to defend his share price a little bit because you can't let the MNAV get away from you. So he's got a little bit of cash on the side to buy his shares back with, just to defend his share price. Now, I don't think he's deployed it yet, but I mean, we don't know. It certainly doesn't feel like it based on the drawdown we've had, but
apparently he's got 700 million cash, but whether he's deploying that like dollar cost averaging style, like how he's actually executing the trades, we won't know, and he can't say, right? Like they would use that against him. But the share count thing, why do you think there's a reason to obfuscate that? Maybe there's not a specific reason, but
short sellers, just defending against short sellers. I think I don't like it. But I'm in, and a lot of this you're not also gonna like. I'm just I'm in on Tom Lee. He's had the guts to have a plan, to have a thesis, and regardless of what CNBC or Twitter or anybody else says, to stick with it. And so,
I mean, he's made great calls.
That level of hard-headedness is an amazing skill. Other times, it gets you wrecked.
Yeah,
but I'm betting that it helps him execute on his plan, because we knew there was going to be a crypto winter. So I don't think he was planning on it being a few months after he IPO'd, but
you think this is it?
It's always going to happen. And does he have the stones and the intestinal fortitude to sit there and take it, defend his share price a little bit with these buybacks, and make his business work?
You think this is it, crypto winter?
I think we have a pretty good chance to have another leg up. Let NVIDIA have its earnings, and let what we were talking about earlier, let this volatility fall out of the market. It's just uncertainty right now. Like, what is NVIDIA going to do? Everyone wants to talk about it. I mean, what was on Steve's pod today, and I think he asked 4 different times, what do we think NVIDIA is going to do? That's what the whole market wants. That's what everyone wants to know. And then how is the market going to crypto winter likability? That's the term.
I think there's also some general nervousness around what the Christmas quarter is going to look like, just in terms of consumer spend, ad spend, whether or not we get the cut in December. I've never seen people get so worked up over 25 basis points before. I mean, I know every Fed meeting is pretty important, but everyone seems to have their panties in a bunch over whether or not we get this cut in September or if we get it later.
I think it has to do with the case I've made most of the year, is that you have an economic and trade policy now, which are trying to do one thing, and a monetary policy that is trying to do the opposite, that is literally trying to counter the economic and trade policy. I don't think the country's going to work very well if we continue to do that. I don't love tariffs. I'm generally a free trade guy, but I'm willing to admit I could be wrong, and I'm willing to admit the president could have a plan that will work, but I'm also going to say he probably needs all the tools available to him and doesn't deserve to have, 1/3 of his economic tripod working at cross purposes to what he's trying to get accomplished.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to cut his legs out from under him. And I think, the Fed, you touched on it on a stream earlier today, but they claim to be data dependent for the last 4 years and were reactionary. And now, call it political, call it what you want, they are forecasting inflation going up based on tariffs, and the words data dependent have entirely left their vocabulary.
No, you're going to hear that again at the next meeting. Because, well, we didn't get any data and we're data dependent, so we couldn't do anything. That's going to be their excuse this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, look at the ADP data, though. I mean, there's so much private data. I mean, you can see the headlines of layoffs here, layoffs there, Verizon, Amazon.
Aren't they legally not allowed to use that? Like, they legally, I'm pretty sure, are required to use the numbers that Congress has authorized them to use.
Why?
And if you ever want to find out just how messed up our economic and monetary policy actually is, look at what goes into determining CPI and PPI.
But why would you limit the amount of data sources that they can use? Like, as an investor trying to figure out what stocks to buy and sell, we'll use any piece of data that we can get our hands on, and then it's up to us to determine whether or not that's a good data point. It's, we would never tie one hand behind our back and say we can't use a certain data point because it doesn't check a box.
Have you met the United States Congress?
The other interesting thing about this whole policy too is the stimulus check not going through Congress. I was always taught that Congress has the power of the purse. I found that interesting.
The Secretary of the Treasury works for the president.
That's correct. Now, were these other stimulus checks, did any of those bypass Congress?
So the question is, if the president didn't need Congress to establish the tariffs, he doesn't need Congress to authorize where the money goes.
So you're saying because he earned the money, he can use it?
Essentially. I don't know how legal that is. I'm actually either the president is the chief executive or they're not. And I don't know how the Supreme Court is ultimately going to rule on that. But I think that is the legal theory that the executive branch is proposing. Now, I don't love a super powerful chief executive on principle, but I also like things to be consistent. And yeah, if the president has to take this much political heat, then he probably deserves the opportunity to use that to buy some goodwill from the electorate.
Well, and that's just the thing. I think it's so transparent, the buying of the goodwill. The way that everyone's looking at it is that
he's not running for re-election, though. So
right, but it's time just right before midterms. So I think that's the transparent part.
I don't know. I mean, we've got less than a year to make the affordability story go away. And if there's anything that the media loves, it's finding an issue and hammering the president with it and they only need to do it for 6 months, because then the narrative is baked into the cake. The ads are running on television for the election, and you know it's all about getting out and canvassing and knocking on doors. But the zeitgeist of the economic picture will already have been set and solidified. So president's got 6 months to make people feel like they're all rich again.
Yeah, but the thing is, this problem, this affordability problem, didn't just show up on January 20th. Yeah, it's not new. This has been a problem for 7-8 years now.
It's not new, and it's not a Mamdani thing either. I got news for you. It's not like one of our favorite hosts the other day made the point. Oh, look, the Democrats won everything, including New York City. I'm like,
of course they
I got
did.
news for you. We're not going to elect a Republican there. They just, Cuomo was absolutely unelectable. All right, lackability. Go do that homework.
It's got that homework. My goodness. Glad I do not have to do homework again. That is in the past.
No, you just have to study for a test.
Yeah.
Zing!
Yeah, I've definitely got the books back here.
Let's get
it. It's a thick old boy.
Congress worked with Congress to make the budget. Yeah. So, yeah, the budget is Congress.
Talk about this comment here, Congress. Yeah, I think that meant to say the president works with Congress to make the budget with the OMB.
The president can not sign it, but once they send him a budget, that's why he's involved in it. But we've seen Congresses from opposite parties just shove a budget down a president's throat that he didn't want, but he had to take it anyway because that's the budget he got.
Right. Yeah. Like, what's he going to do? Send it back to Congress and be like, can you change?
He could try to veto it. But
speaking of things he might try to veto,
even people in his own party by then have put enough time, effort, and energy into getting that budget written down that they're not interested in hearing about no veto either. Like, they're tired. They want to go home. They felt like they did their opposition. They got their licks in. They probably got their carve outs for the little things they want, and they're ready to be done and move on to the next thing. Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of the next thing, just in terms of implications of what this could have for markets, the Senate passed what is going to be called the Epstein law, I guess. I'm not even sure what's in it, but it looks like we're going to have some files that get released.
I don't care about Epstein. I never did.
You don't think that could have impact on?
He's dead. I'm just
sure.
But so look, either there's a distraction. There's a whole bunch of powerful people that abused underage girls and have gotten away with it, and that's a horrible miscarriage of justice, or nothing happened and Epstein died in prison and Ghislaine Maxwell is still there, and it's a horrible miscarriage of justice. So one or the other, it's a horrible miscarriage of justice. I don't think it's Congress's job to. Congress shouldn't have to be involved in this. Like, tell them to go make the country run.
Right.
Like, go fix the healthcare system you broke. Go fix the mortgage system you're about to break. Like, actually fix it. Don't just make it affordable, because that just means it's not going to be affordable again in a few years.
Do you think it could have implications, though, that will distract the Oval Office from
Oh yeah,
cutting the
that's why
deals.
they're doing it. That's why they're doing it. They're doing it. And
So
now,
how could that play
DJT
out?
is
Because
fighting this
like,
off, and he can't implement policy anymore.
well, and how that could be problematic is if he's still trying to cut deals and work with the business world to get the things done that he wants to get done, and he has to deal with this side quest.
Yeah, I mean, Harrison, it's not that I don't care; it's that I don't think it is the job of the United States Congress when they just had the government shut down for 40 something days. Like, to be honest, I was happier with the government shut down. I think we proved that we can at least run this sucker for 3 or 4 weeks without, a disaster, which means they probably have too much bloat in the system.
At some point, we've got to figure out long term for just the health of the country how to get to that Warren Buffett rule of if we cannot balance the budget, just make everybody in both chambers unelectable the next cycle. Because every time it gets a little bit worse.
Well, who's
And
going to do that? The people we elected, they're not going to ever vote themselves out of a job collectively. One or two
right,
might, but they're not going to collectively do that.
yeah, it's like the same issue that you have with the politicians insider trading. They would have to legislate themselves into that restriction.
Yeah. And so you say, okay, well, we'll need a constitutional amendment. We can get it from the states. What, you think the state representatives don't want to be U.S. Congress people someday? I guarantee you they do.
Yeah, they've got a corporate ladder too.
I've known more than a couple of them, and I guarantee you they all think they can be a U.S. representative. Every single one of them thinks, "Oh, I want a district race. I can win this. I can win a little bit larger district."
What are your thoughts on paying politicians more so that there's less incentive to do the backdoor dealing?
You can't pay them enough.
Well, what if you made each senator make $1 million a year?
That's not enough because it's not $100 million a year. Because their friends, the donors, people they're hanging out with, they're throwing hundreds of millions of dollars around. They're throwing billions of dollars around. $1 million is nothing. So that's the other thing we have to think about though is Nancy Pelosi's dang near 90 years old, right? This is something I say about Warren Buffett in our last pod. Like, he's a great investor, but he got 40 years of compounding most investors don't get because he's still kicking at 100. Nancy's had, two whole other at least one whole other investing career worth of compounding. And yeah, she's also had access to some of the best companies, some of the best info. So that doesn't hurt. But she's compounded enough for that to put in the middle. And now she's out. So I'm really, really worried that was our last capitalist Democrat.
I don't think so.
At least the last capitalist Democrat in leadership. Because the new leaders of the Democratic Party are the AOC, Bernie, Mamdani wing.
Bernie's going to be gone soon.
Yeah, so Mamdani, AOC. I mean, it's like
Newsom.
And, the squad, and like that's the whole next thing coming. The literal socialists are going to be running the Democratic Party. Now, are most of them going to be socialists? Probably not. Most of them are still going to be, people trying to get rich, but the ones in the leadership.
Is she really calling the shots, though?
She will be. Pelosi was. I mean, you saw.
I don't think she just
multiple times.
I don't think AOC has the same pull that Pelosi did, though.
No, well, Pelosi had the power.
Right.
AOC had the influence, but Pelosi had the power. But when AOC bitch slaps Chuck Schumer here in the next senatorial election, she's going to become one of the 50 U.S. sitting senators, probably in the majority, and she's going to be the one leading all the fundraising. And that's where the real power is going to come from.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to.
She's going to be a one-term senator, and then she's going to run for president.
I want to see an America with a strong Democratic Party, because it's not good to not have opposition. If there's a large swath of the country who believes that one side is unelectable, if they are going to go that route of Mom Donnie and lean into socialism and lean into open borders and defunding the police and, giving away free stuff, if one of the parties becomes unelectable, there's no counterbalance to the other party. If you notice, like, some of the most productive states in the union are purple states. So I grew up in Ohio. I'm now out in Arizona, and the laws are so reasonable relative to New York or Alabama or Mississippi or California. When you have one party sort of calling the shots for an extended period of time, you end up with just seemingly not good results, because you end up with an echo chamber, and there's never a mediation of ideas to get back to the middle and get something that works for everybody.
Yep, 100%. You can't ingest any good ideas that aren't yours if the other party is made of insane people. Because there's a difference between being an opposition and being an obstacle, right? An opposition means we're going to make sure that you're doing what you said you're going to do above board. Obstacle means we're going to stop you from doing what you said you're going to do and what you got elected to do.
Right. Yeah. And people have made the observation that a lot of the one party's campaign here is that they're just going to be anti this guy, right? That's kind of their whole platform at a certain point, if they mention it every chance that they get. And at a certain point, you do have to have your own platform. But do you think that if the midterms go poorly and we end up seeing more Democrats taking seats in the House and the Senate, that would cause issues for the markets having, a split government?
Well, markets have always performed best during split government.
Right. But I think a lot of the concern would be that, if they did have, like, a split government previously has worked, but in this situation, it seems like they would do exactly what we're describing, where they just put up a blocker and stop everything and prevent the administration from seeing to fruition a lot of the processes that they've already put in motion, and that they could put the kibosh on that.
So you end up with the worst possible outcome. And the government horse that I showed you, where you start real good and then you get all the way to the other end, and all your tools were taken away to do the things you were trying to do. It's like the president is elected to build you a house. Okay? You elect the president to build you a house. And he goes out and he orders all the materials, hires the people, buys the tools.
Yeah, I got a better example for you, Dougie.
And halfway along the way, you're like, no, you can't have all these people. And you're only going to be left with screwdrivers and nails.
I have a real example for you that I think would fit perfectly. The border wall. All those materials were ordered and they were sent down to the border wall, and then they ended up getting resold. Did you hear about this?
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like that. But that's what happens when a president has a plan. A president who doesn't have full control of the government has a plan to do something, And if they have an opposition party, they're the ones basically being the forensic accountants, saying, oh, you ordered this and you said it was going to cost this. Well, let's find out if it costs what you said it was going to. And we're going to tell the American people if it doesn't. Versus, hey, we're going to take away all your tools and we're going to leave you with, we're going to say you've got like, instead of having a whole crew of people, you've got one guy and you've got a screwdriver and we're taking away all the screws. So you've only got nails left. So, screwdrivers and nails, not traditionally the best tool to build things with.
And if the Supreme Court rules against them, they're going to take away the screwdriver and the nails too. If the Supreme Court rules against the tariffs, that's going to be a lot of issues that would get caused.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that because I'm against the tariffs overall. But people's like, where we're trying to fight an affordability crisis and somebody's trying something new. Is that the worst possible outcome? Is that really the worst thing? Somebody's trying something that's not been tried before. And that's what y'all want to just stop right now? So I'm fine either way. I'm wondering if the market doesn't rip. Actually.
You mean if they rule in favor?
They roll it back.
If they get rid of the tariffs.
If they get rid of the tariffs. The market doesn't just rip.
But that wouldn't all these countries that have just done deals with us that, Trump used the leverage of the tariffs to get them to do these deals, particularly with like countries that really we had to drag them kicking and screaming, like Europe with their VAT taxes and all the tariffs that they have against us. We use those tariffs to get them into these deals. Do they all just step out of the deals? And Basent brought up a good point yesterday about importers. Do you just give them all their money back? Like, where does that money come from and who pays it? That's like the tricky logistical
right
question.
Now, you're saying you've got enough money to send everybody $2,000 checks. So probably out of whatever money you were planning on doing there.
It just feels like it would add a lot of instability to the market.
Yeah, but it's going to make Apple's margins go back crazy again, or
for the hardware.
They had their own cutouts, but Well,
I think
you definitely have a portion of small business in the Northeast and Pacific Northwest that think that tariffs are the devil on their little small business. And maybe they are. And they make sure to tell you when you buy something from them that this is it, and then this is the tariff. And it's always like a couple of bucks. I wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't told me it was a tariff. So
now I feel privileged that I get to sit in a position that I'm just sort of watching the show, eating popcorn, waiting for when I feel like the most hectic period is going to come and try and buy those dips. Obviously, I'm buying all the time, dollar cost averaging in and buying what I see value in. But, having an investment time horizon of 30 plus years really gives me the opportunity to simply ask the question, will this matter in 2 decades? And usually the answer is no, especially if it comes from the government side. Like, it's probably going to change in 4 to 8 or 12 years anyways, especially if you've got courts changing how things are working. So luckily, I don't have to worry about that too much, and I don't have to stress about it. But I know, if you're a small business owner, that's an immediate issue.
I mean, I'm a small business owner as well, and I sell 2 products that are tariffed, at least 2 that are subject to tariffs, and I pay it without it bothering me. It certainly hasn't, the tariff certainly hasn't scaled at the level that inflation did over the last couple of years.
But that's going to be product specific, though, right?
That was more of a shock than the tariff.
But the tariff for your business and Susie's business and Joe's business, those are all going to be different numbers based on the country that it's imported from and what product it is,
and how much of it you do. I mean, right. So I'm just saying my COGS not necessarily significantly higher as a result. And if you'd have told me it was just inflation, I would have believed that just as much. So yeah, you can, the sites I buy from tell me it's tariff, and even then you don't really, like, who actually really knows that they're paying a tariff? Like, how do you know that this product wasn't something that got the carve out and they're just put tariff on their thing to charge a couple bucks more?
Right.
Kind of like a September 11th fee on a plane ticket. Like, at some point, is that just not baked into the cake? Like, it's 25 years later. You're still calling out September 11th fee? You just don't want to call that this is how much a ticket costs now?
I think that's for the TSA, right? I think that's TSA funding.
Yeah, but you just don't want to say this is how much a ticket costs now. We pass this cost from the buyer to the TSA.
I think the airline wants you and me to know that these $2 or $3 aren't being charged by United or Delta. It's being,
the ticket costs $300, and I'm arguing over the $12 fee.
Yeah, you'd be amazed.
If it disappeared everywhere and we're just saying, oh, we're just not itemizing it anymore, no one would freaking care.
I think some people care. Maybe we run in different circles, but I know a few penny pinchers who would definitely be curious about.
No, you're still paying it. It's still there. It's just not. We're just no longer spending money on the ink.
Sure.
And itemizing and tracking it all the way to the end user. Like, it's just now a transaction between how many tickets were bought and sold by your airline and the TSA that is servicing you. Which, by the way, it's not like the TSA didn't exist prior to September 11th and they already weren't paying for it. It just comes out of it's just a tax. Just roll it up with all the rest of the income taxes. That's all I'm saying.
Speaking of rolling things up here, yes. So sort of getting back to the topic here, and then we can wrap.
Yeah, the day you were waiting for the chances to buy everything, those are the days I'm selling my VIX plays. Yeah,
you're selling your VIX plays. A strategy that I've been using, and once again, not financial advice. This is just me sharing my own personal journey here. But something that I've been doing and have had some success on is if I've got shares and, I've got a long-term conviction and I really believe that there's catalyst over the next 18 months, but the stock is going down for whatever macro bullshit reason, I've been selling those shares and then putting them into calls selectively. Not the whole position, but a good chunk of it. This was something that I did today with SoFi. When it dipped all the way down to 26, I sold some shares, put it into some call options that were just slightly out the money, a year and a half out. Okay. And then I did it with Amazon right before earnings. And then as soon as
you bought.
Yeah. Oh. So what I did is I sold the shares and just used that same exact cash and bought the call. So I just applied leverage. So I kept the absolute dollar amount of the position exactly the same. And
yeah.
You have to do this in an IRA. Otherwise you end up with all sorts of tax consequences to that. But, when Amazon went up by 13-14% on earnings and then the OpenAI deal, that call went up by 37%. And I was able to maximize that opportunity. And then I just got right back off the call and right back into shares. Now, that's not something I'm not trying to trade the position perfectly, but if you get an opportunity where the stock is too low, it's too low, and you have a deep conviction that it's going to go higher at some point or another, you can utilize that, or maybe a combination of both what you're doing and what I'm doing. You could sell your UVIX and then use that to put it into some leverage selectively and appropriately, only if it meets your goals and your risk tolerance.
Yep.
Well, cool. I think that wraps episode 2. It's getting late.
I think it does.
We will get out of here.
I think it was a good idea to jump on tonight because I have a pretty busy weekend.
Okay.
So I don't know what our plan is for streaming on the weekend. But
we can figure it out. We can text offline. Yeah. And then as far as my personal channel, we should be seeing some deep dives here soon. I'm trying to figure out which company I want to do, either Google, Amazon, maybe AppLovin, or Comfort Systems USA, Fix. So one of those 4 companies. Thank you, Midwest, for being here. Thanks everyone in the chat. And Dougie, do you have anything? I think you've got your own channel now too.
Well, I've had it, but I think the plan is to run our little together pod here.
Okay.
Yeah, my stuff is for like rockets and blah blah blah. Maddie went on his strike today. It was funny, but
he went on it for far too long. We were almost immediately able to live stream, and I think he just didn't want to talk to Steve for whatever reason.
You think so?
I don't know. No, I'm just being a goofball. But thanks everyone who subscribed to make it possible for us to go live. We do want to build this out and have some more conversations, and yeah, we will take it from there.
Thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
Peace.